and welcome to the AgriHub Inspire Hackathon final ceremony event. Today, after more than 2 months of hacking, we are going to conclude the hackathon. We will learn about the results of all challenges that were defined for this hackathon. And last but not least, we are going to have a pleasure to acquaint you with the winning teams selected by our jury. My name is Hanna Kubíčková. I'm going to be your host today. And just to briefly introduce myself, I work for Plant for All. My background is in geomatics, and I'm mainly responsible for organizing the Inspire hackathons. And now back to the hackathon. This Inspire hackathon is already the 19th Inspire hackathon organized by the Plant for All Association, and already the 5th one that is organized fully virtually. And why is this hackathon called AgriHub? This hackathon takes place within the AgriHub CZ and SK project funded by Smart AgriHubs, which is a European project under Horizon 2020 and brings together a consortium of more than 164 partners in the European agri-food sector that aims to realize the digitalization of European agriculture by fostering an agricultural innovation ecosystem. The AgriHub CZSK project therefore aims to support agricultural digital innovation hubs for the Czech Republic and Slovakia and facilitate the establishment and implementation of innovation experiments. The main idea of this 12-month project is to integrate the activities of existing innovation hubs in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, namely AgriHub CZ and AgriHub SK, as you can see it at this slide, and to support the interaction of farmers, advisors, machinery manufacturers, researchers, developers, and many more stakeholders in order to move Czech and Slovak agriculture towards smart farming 4.0. A total of 8 organizations, namely Plant for All, Czech Center for Science and Society, Agricultural Association of the Czech Republic, Czech Inno, Slovak Agricultural University in Nitra, Technical University of Košice, ADSEM, and ECHO from Germany have joined together to support the establishment of digital innovation hubs for Czechia and Slovakia and to support this idea. The project has identified 7 innovation experiments that focus on selected use cases with the potential to create new products or services. AgriHub CZ and SK supports the development and communication of these innovation experiments during the organization of hackathons. And that's exactly why we are here today, because AgriHub Inspire Hackathon is the first hackathon organized in the frame of this project, and it supports the development of these innovation experiments, which are called in this hackathon challenges. A total of 8 challenges were defined to support the digital innovation hubs in Czech Republic and Slovakia. And in this hackathon, we have the honor to have 4 members of the jury, who is Emilia Oreščanin, Bente Liaby, Josef Noil, and Jiří Pánek. And I would like now to give a floor to our jury to introduce themselves. And we will start with Emilia. Emilia, are you here with us? Can you please introduce yourself just briefly?
Hi, yes, hello. My name is Emilia. I come from Bioscience Institute. I work within the Smart AgriHubs project. I have a background in agriculture and economy. And yeah, that will be shortly it. I'm really glad to be part of this experience.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Thank you. Now, Bente, it's your turn.
Yes, hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me and keeping me here in the Inspire Hackathon family. So I've been a part of this hackathon adventure since 2016, actually, in different roles, of course. My background is, well, in this context, I'm a member of the Committee of Plan for All, but I also have a background from data management, citizen science, and generally using Earth observations. For agriculture, I was a partner or an expert on behalf of Plan for All in the EU for Agri Horizon 2020 project. And I am also using my background from NextGeo's Data Hub and platform to be mentoring master students using Earth observations. So I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you very much, Bente. It's always a pleasure to have you in the hackathon in different roles. Thank you. And unfortunately, Josef and Jiří Pánek are not in this event, so I will briefly introduce Josef Noel. He is a chief editor in GeoBusiness, and Jiří Pánek has a geography, GIS development studies background with over 15 years of experience. He's been mapping, teaching, presenting in various countries on 4 continents. He specializes on participatory approaches in mapping and using spatial tools for community development. And he is a co-founder of GIS Portal, which is online GIS magazine, and co-developed participatory mapping tool počítačové mapy.cz. And this was a short introduction of our jury members. So thank you very much, Emilia and Bente, for being here. And what exactly was the role of our jury? So our jury were asked to read all 8 final reports and evaluate the results based on predefined criteria. These criteria consist of documentation. The report should be sufficient and effective, and it clearly responds to the challenge goals. Then the second criteria is evidence of use of open data, interoperability, and inspire. Then it's the innovation potential, then it's market potential, and the last criteria is outreach and capacity development and sustainability. What is very important is that you can also be a part of the jury. So listen to the presentations and choose which 3 teams you think are the best. All you need is to go to the menti.com and use the voting code you can see at this slide. I will later put it into the chat. So before we move on the first presentation, I would like to remind you that we have a chat available for your questions, or you can raise your hand and ask our mentors directly. So that's all from my side for the moment, and we can move on to the first presentation of the results, which will be challenge number 1, crop detection, introduced by Herman Schneeweiss. So Herman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hannah. I will start sharing my screen. Do you see it?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Okay, hello everybody. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure for me to show you the results of challenge number 1. Which was crop detection. On previous hackathon, we also have crop detection, and this was continuing of that results. We took those results and wanted to improve them. 3 of our tasks were about improving the accuracy of the crop classification, and 4th task was about real-world application of the crop classification. And now I will show you how we did in each task. The first task was to try different datasets. The classic time series classification uses Sentinel-2 enhanced vegetation index, and we changed that index with normalized difference moisture index, and we measured the accuracy, and we found that the accuracy coming from an DMI, the new index, is the same as the accuracy of the original index. Maybe it's because both of them are coming from satellite Sentinel-2. So that was the result of the first task. The second task was to try some advanced pre-processing of input datasets, of input layers. We decided to use unsupervised classification with the input dataset, and then we did the classic supervised classification on the output of the unsupervised classification. So there was a mid step with the unsupervised classification, and but this solution, or this, resulted in a much lower accuracy as was the original accuracy when there was not the mid step. So we found that it is not the right way. And the last task, according to improving the accuracy, was to improve accuracy of Sentinel classification, because some classification we do also from Sentinel-1 data, but this classification is not very successful, or is less successful than Sentinel-2 classification. So we wanted to do some advanced pre-processing of the Sentinel-1 data, and we decided to do smoothing of radar images, because the radar data are quite difficult to work with. So we did smoothing, and we reached the same accuracy of the, we reached smoothly, slightly better accuracy than from pure Sentinel-1 data. But when we do some post-processing of the classical classification, then we get the same accuracy as if we do this pre-processing, which we did in this task. So that's basically the same accuracy. Yeah, the answer is it doesn't matter if we do advanced pre-processing of further post-processing of the radar data according to accuracy. But yeah, and the last task was to find some real-world application of the crop classification results, and we found three areas where the classification could have an impact. The first one was agricultural commodity trade, the second one food industry, and the third one food security. In all three areas, it can have a positive impact and make it more effective. And we also started a negotiation with the State Agriculture Intervention Fund, which is responsible for managing subsidies and grants to farmers in Czech Republic. And these talks are continuing, are still in progress. So it was a good start. And we will see if we will find some cooperation. That was all from challenge number 1 from me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Herman, for presenting the results of the challenge number 1. Do we have any questions from the audience or from the jury? Or any comments? If not, I would like to ask you, Herman, would you mind giving the floor to Runar, because he has to leave very soon, so...
Yeah, I am okay with it.
Thank you very much. So, Runar, you can present the results of challenge number 8, map whiteboard business cases. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So, sorry for shuffling your order of things. It was just that I have to leave at 2 o'clock. It's not that imminent, but I'm very grateful that you allow me to do now. Okay, challenge 8. What this challenge is about, we were supposed to try and find viable business models for how we can put this map whiteboard technology to use for society and for ourselves. Those who have taken part here previously in these series of hackathons, adventure as Bente called it, will be familiar with that technology. It is for maps what Google Docs is for text documents. It's a collaborative surface where you can edit maps. We've proven that concept. We have proven that that works at a reasonable scale. 30, 40, 50 people can be connected to a map and it will work. But our euphoria of the technical innovation is gradually passing. And we are looking for now ways to make sure that this finds its way to the market and to some form of tangible, durable value creation instead of just being something that we do because it looks nice on the screen. So that was the challenge at heart. Who's participated in this? Well, if we look at it in terms of companies, it would be Asplan, Access, ESS, Less Project, and BOSC. But on a human scale, which is what we typically operate on, I see many people wrote in the chat here about this being a family. In families, we're not corporations, we are people. And Raitis, Dailis, Franta, Karl, and myself have been involved in this. None of them are listed in any specific order except myself, who deservedly is last and least. The map whiteboard, when we were trying to look at places where this could fit as value chains, where this could fit in, the fundamental idea is that this is useful where people with different levels of knowledge, not necessarily one stupid, one smart, but one with knowledge about one area and one with knowledge of another, typically bringing together the helix of agriculture, for example, production level of agriculture, the scientific level of agriculture, and data science would be 3 complementary disciplines that cannot necessarily do everything on their own, but who needs to cooperate, you know, in order to understand and capture data about specific locations. So that's where the map whiteboard sits. And one of the business cases that we have elaborated the best has been related to smart farming. And unlike what people would have us believe, when it comes to small and medium-sized farms, the greatest advances in smart farming is not in the field, but still in PowerPoint. And we want to now to see, okay, how can we make a bridge for small and medium-sized farms to get started with smart farming? And we designed a concept for this a little bit early in the autumn, where we made a mechanism that would use the map whiteboard to allow better communication between farmers, agricultural advisors, and data scientists to collaboratively decide what is the best smart farming practice that you can apply to a given agricultural parcel. We also made some inroads into seeing how we could make smart farming technology more accessible through lowering the cost of entry. Because I mean, if you have some sort of a Midwestern American field and 22 combined harvesters, then of course the investment of adding a few gadgets and add-on appliances is not unjustifiable. But if you have a Austrian or a Norwegian or a Greek rural small farm of some sort, and you would like to get both the biomass production benefits and the reduced environmental footprint benefits of smart farming, there is no technology that allows that. So we designed something around that, smartphone app concept for that. And this would then allow people to go further in terms of implementing variable rate applications for differentiated distribution of fertilizer, irrigation, and pesticides. But that workflow made one assumption that was false, and that is that there are pre-existing models that are able to tell people what is smart to do for a given plot. And our workflow, as we had designed it, plugged one hole in that assumption, and that was that it's necessary to know not only satellite imagery and remote sensing data, but you also need to know something specific about the land itself. So there's necessary to have an interaction with the farmer to capture local knowledge. But the missing link that still remains is the fact that we don't really have any broadly applicable AI models that are able to tell what is smart to do for any given patch of land with varying hydrological, meteorological, climatical, geological, land use, land cover variations. We don't have any such models at the moment, and developing such models requires a large chunk of data that we don't have. So to arrive at such data, we thought the extension to our map whiteboard technology that could provide a starting point for this would be a module for exploratory analysis. So analyzing things without knowing exactly what you're looking out for, trying to find causalities in the data between the success of the biomass production and a broad swath of input variables and dimensions. So we shaped up then something that we call this very, very ambitious name here. And we model ourselves on trying to do with a large chunk of raster files or grid-based data as a backend to do what the current technology called WebGLayer does for point clouds. So to be able to show any number of rasters in a big map view, and to be able to filter all the dimensions of those rasters through histograms presented next to the map, and thereby trying to identify which factors is it that to the greatest extent impacts the biomass production of a given area. And by doing that repeatedly, we would then be able to create a body of evidence that could be used as input to train AI models that could be used in a more broad context than what they are presently. So we set up some sort of a work plan that's built on this to establish first a set of test data that encompass satellite, climate, meteorology, hydrography, geology, land cover and land use data, time series of these, to make a map algebra server that is able to do calculations on these based on inputs from the clients over this part of the screen, These would then serve TIFF images to a map server running on Python map script, so using the UMN map server, that then again delivers data to a web server via WMS, so good old OGC standards, ensuring that this application is not only able to run with our map whiteboard and so on, but can also be used with mainstream GIS clients. Then we thought, okay, the same way the map whiteboard exchanges how the map looks between many users, this application will then exchange how a dashboard, how a business intelligence dashboard looks between many users, so people can have the same shared experience there. So we'll have then a view similar to the one shown here that allows people to do the filtering, and then as the final product, we get a combined map of our filter correlations between desired outcomes and the filtered input dimensions, as well as scatter plots that can be used then to determine the relevance of the input dimensions relative to the observed biomass production. In the first instance, this will have the applicability in science to build better models, but after a year, after 2 years, this will then again trickle back into the agricultural production industry, where these models can be put to use on small and medium-sized farms. Regrettably, despite however long time we've had, as Anna said on the introduction here on running this hack, we started fairly late and we didn't come much further than this. So we have little exciting to show on the client end, but we made a good start. We have come as far as to determine that this is a realizable concept. The practical viability of how this would work when we plug it into a real world test that involves data scientists and farmers who should communicate is an interesting thing that we'll need to test once we complete the client end of this. And we'll try to make that the emphasis of our activities in the first quarter of 2022 before the growth season starts there. And we believe that this genuinely has the potential to bring smart farming to the small and medium-sized farm that today is best represented in PowerPoint and most poorly represented in the field when it comes to smart agriculture. And with that, I thank you for your attention, wish you a Merry Christmas, and should you have any questions or comments, I suppose they can be asked now, or if not, you can send them to my email address. Thank you. Word back to you, Hannah.
Many thanks, Runar. It was a very nice presentation of results of challenge number 8. And you can always continue in the next hackathon, Runar.
Well, we shall see. It's a nice journey to be on, and while our progress may not be as great as hoped for, it is incremental steps. It's not regression, at least, which is more than we can say about some parts of society.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience or jury?
I have a quick question. As always, very entertaining to listen to you, Runar. So is it right that this has been, well, mostly technology driven? You had some ideas in the beginning of how it could be useful, but that was based on your imagination rather than having contact with potential users, or?
Yeah, I think it depends on how much elasticity we should apply to the word truth here. We have continuous contact with people in the sector. This is where we take our ideas from. But I think it would be deeply dishonest to say that this is the product of a thoroughly market researched idea. No, I think this is the gap that we have plugged with this technology extension is, I think the gap is pretty obvious as it is, but it's not been identified through user requirements. No, it's been identified technology driven in this most evil way that you can imagine, where technologists sit down and say, yes, this we believe to be smart. Let's do it, and we should be punished for this severely when you do your evaluations.
No, it was just a clarification that because
it's an important question, and I feel we didn't try to deliberately cloud that, but no. It became a technology extension to the current platform rather than a very thorough market study on the farmers.
Yeah. Well, but that's I mean, you have a pull and push between technology and user needs. So that's I just wanted to a question for clarification, not for judgment.
Oh, judgment is important. It's fun.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Do we have any other comments or questions? If not, thank you very much, Runar. And now let's have a look. Bye-bye. Let's have a look at the results of the challenge number 3, agro-environmental services.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the space to present the results of this challenge. And just could you please confirm whether you see the slides?
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool. So many thanks for being able to contribute to this event, and with this challenge we would like to really briefly present actually collaboratively what was done. As you will see on the end of the presentation, quite wide range of expertise we managed to put together. And really these participants deserve acknowledgement, as they were able to, in a really short time, to collect and process and share significant amount of information and knowledge. And with that, seeing the overview of the contribution, I'd like to focus on the first part where we really wanted to somehow sum up what was our motivation. And actually, it was really to provide support for two kind of targets. First one was really aiming to identify and somehow support and stimulate access to agri and environmental related data, whilst with the sort of second main target was to investigate and support the usage of those data we managed to find, made available, and really to provide some examples what can be done in this domain with this kind of geospatial content. And with intention to really utilize these data sets and services, we were trying to collect data for the national level for the Slovakia itself, but we also identified two specific locations, or let's call it pilot locations, which you can see on the figure here. And also from, let's say, scope point of view, we found out that we were able actually to support three sort of use cases, which have certain sort of relationship between themselves. But the first one really was focused on support for data sharing and utilization, whilst the second one will go more towards the impacts of hydro network structural changes. And the last one is really focused on the temporal spatial changes in a selected part of the landscape. And for the first one, really here we wanted to make sure that we are able to collect data resources available for these domains. And also we were trying to prioritize which data sets we would be happy if they are not already available to be made available by the providers. And we try to communicate this to the Ministry of Agriculture to really start the discussion about the prioritization to make these data sets available. And at the same time, where possible, we also try to make those data which were not available also as a result of the other use cases to publish them via services. At the same time, we are aware really about the importance how to communicate the data. And therefore, we were trying to collect and share and publish the data via platform developed under the AgriHub innovation platform. So there are already available certain outcomes of the use cases, but there will be also coming newcomers which were made available these days. And we do hope that this platform will be actually the place where this type of information will be collected and made available for the interested users. And lastly, for this use case, we were trying to actually see how we are able to utilize third parties data resources. In this case, we managed to connect to API provided by the Meteo Blue company, where at this moment we are investigating to be able to provide access to certain meteorological and agri-related parameters for any part of the Slovakia where users can investigate and search what is available via this graphical user interface. So that's for my part, and now I would ask Csaba Sidor to share with us the outcomes of his use case number 2.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Thanks. I'll be very brief. The baby steps or the case in the current challenge is part of a larger study. The global aim of proving or disproving the necessity of maintenance or possible alternative use or utilization of a system of artificial canals or channels. The canals were constructed in the late 50s of the 20th century in the southeastern Slovak subregion called Medvodrože. As it may be seen via some of the fun facts, the area is dominantly used for agriculture. Please, next slide. Since several open sources or data providers contain the canal's different spatial representation in terms of positional length, the first baby step within the current challenge was to identify a possible and perhaps more precise polygonal spatial representation of the longest of the canals, the Somoter Canal, and secondly, to test the possibility of assessing the canal's surface structure. Please, next slide. The approach of achieving the, let's say, pilot results were quite simple, using OTB segmentation tool over ortho image provided by Cadastral and Geographic Institute Bratislava. I'm not sure whether that's the right name of the institution. Much apologies. And subsequent merging of the features. We used the ortho image, we used the OTB's segmentation tool over the ortho image, and subsequently merging of the features resulting into a rough vector representing the canal shoreline. The output multi-polygon bounds the canal shores a little bit more precise than the ministry's layer on shorelines that copies boundaries of parcels subject to subsidization or subsidization requests. However, the merged output still has to be cleaned of relevant particles as parts of bridges, roads, shades of trees, etc. In terms of assessing or testing or making an effort to try to assess the canal surface structure, the approach was also quite simple. 2 simple clips were segmented via sticked image libraries built-in Felshenslaub method for unsupervised segmentation. The outcomes, I hope that it may be observable on the images. The outcomes partially distinguish water and or water lily, slope of the shore, shades of the trees. But even though it slightly distinguishes fields of crops and parts of the canal overgrown with vegetation, the results are more or less not very satisfactory, or more unsatisfactory. Nevertheless, after converting the SVJ, georeferencing it, and assigning feature classes, ergo what is water lily, which part of vegetation is actually part of the canal, but it's overgrown to objects. It could be of some use for sorting elements via RGB values. Next slide. Oh yeah, since the baby steps results were quite unsatisfactory, and the keyword of the challenge is Agro, a smaller side quest appeared. While agricultural paying agencies set on subsidized crops or data set on requests for subsidization contain the name of the crops, but does not contain any further groups or classification. Fun fact, only in the focus area, more than 56 types of crops can be identified. Because of this, United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization's indicative crop classification was transformed so it can be easily joined to any feature table, and all crops in Vegetation were translated into English and joined with the UN's classification. That's all from me.
Thanks a lot, Csaba. And now I would like to ask Marcelka to share with us the last third use case.
Thank you so much, Martin and Csaba, for your part of presentation. My name is Marcela Binzarova-Gergelova, and I'm speaker of results of use case number 3. As you already heard from my previous colleagues, the use case 1 was focused on the data inventory, the use case 2 to objects on recognitions, and use case 3 is taken the usage of Inspire and satellite data one step up and to the holistic analysis of processes in an environment which could help us adapt to change where we are facing now. This use case evaluates temporal spatial dynamic changes in selected part of landscape using several types of data analysis, classification, and processing techniques of remote sensing data and validate them. We are focused to 2 main aspects of the solution. First is vulnerable and resilience analysis of landscape, and second is analysis of time series changes of landscape structure and based on various aspects. The check of a list of them is presented on the scheme, which you can see on this slide. Next, please. On this graphical presentation, you can see the impact of flood event in the study area of Mezibodrožje. Next, please. In the methodological workflow was placed on the processing of selected types of several data sources from many categories like open data, satellite data, inspired data sets, other registered and GEL databases, and at the next figure you can see visual scheme of from all of them. Usable datasets were, for example, CLC, LPIS, which is official Slovak dataset on identifying agricultural land, remote sensing data like Sentinel-2, Landsat-4, and orthophotomaps with NIR. So soil type map, digital elevation model, and climatological data. Next, please. The complex methodology is schematized as a holistic approach presented at this visualization. And in our use case, we were able to cover the red part and the orange part. But in the future, we would like to cover the this all scheme. Next, please. Experimental results are divided into two tasks. This part of presentation define first task, vulnerability resilience analysis of landscape, and several factors define the system susceptibility to dynamics caused by water surface flow, and many elements of this structure are presented such as flow accumulation, slope, combined curvature or intensity of surface water triggered processes. Next, please. Experimental results of second task were related to analysis of time series changes of landscape structure. For special analysis were used the third CLC level, and in the use case study areas were generated changes in boundary areas. The trend of special changes in CLC was recorded on two levels, the increase and decrease of areas. The increase was recorded in pastures or natural grass with significant areas and natural vegetation. Other categories of CLC representation had a declining trend, where belonged as well cultivated agricultural area. This trend of changes is proportional to the area with size 5 km by 5 km. Next, please. Experimental results of task number 2, you can see at this graphical presentation. Next, please. When comparing the NDVI index in the whole territory, there is a noticeable shift in the dynamics of vegetation in the summer period, while the changes occurred during the decade 2010 and 2020. The most debatable year is 2011, when was in this area very important flood event. Next, please. This challenge helped to put together a wide range of various experts who met for this time who met for this challenge first time, and were able to identify, access, analyze, process, and publish information and knowledge related to target topic of the challenge. Although the scope was shaped widely, results of each identified use case confirmed benefits and new challenges. First use case focus on data access and utilization help to define and set up the data, seen with the new interesting and promising data sources, but also revealed significant gaps in data availability and quality. In the second use case, the water courses network, including canal spatial representation, this journey has been identified, both in complexity and extent of information. For the last third use case, the initial assumption that the country under the pressure dynamic changes of landscape are confirmed. For sure, we will continue with our research on the basement creating during this hackathon. In the next hackathon, the issue will address it a more detailed analysis of historical data with an emphasis on climatological data in the agriculture sector and crop yield model. And next, please. And at this moment, we are at the end, and I would like to thank all the participants which are on this list. And it was a pleasure for me to work with all of you, and thank you so much for your attention, and I see you maybe in the next hackathon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marcela, Csaba, and Martin, for the introduction to the results of the challenge number 3. From the presentation, it's obvious that a lot of work has been done in this hackathon when it comes to this challenge. So thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience and jury? Bente?
Yeah, again, the same question as to Runar. A very impressive work, by the way, and a very interesting approach to demonstrate the different aspects of data discovery, access, and analytics. I think my question is again, to what extent did you interact with potential users of services, or did you identify specific or more specific services that you thought could be useful?
Yeah, if I may take this one, I would say that we are in sort of semi approach that on one hand we are, especially via coordination of Inspire, we are trying to communicate also with the providers as well as with users, and we see where are the preferences for a specific type of data sets. But I have to admit that specifically for the agri domain, we are still sort of newbies. So we really need to better understand actually the community behind the specific stakeholders, and really to make sort of a clear mind map from those having let's say hands dirty from the real work on the farm through the, let's say, people behind the technology and marketing, and also going to the highest, let's say, political and decision-making levels.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Any other questions or comments?
Here is Monika Supekova. May I add something to Martin's comment?
Yes, of course.
Maybe regarding the users. For example, I'm from Slovak Water Management Enterprise, and in the fact I am one of the users of the data, and my request to this challenge was that if there will be identified the types of the uses on the agricultural land, we can better analyze the sources of the flood sources to better manage the flood management in the future, and propose the measures to be more targeted. I don't know if this was understandable, for example.
Thank you, Monika, for your comment. I can see another question in the chat. It's from Ronirit. Thanks for the great work. My comment is on the last section of the presentation. I never really seem to see differences in land cover changes between 1990 and 2018. Is that the case, that there has been no change? Can anyone from the group answer this question?
Yes, I will, but I will answer by message.
Okay, thank you, Marcela.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And I would like to remind you to go to menti.com and select your favorite top 3 teams, and then we can move to the next presentation, which will be the presentation of the results of the challenge number 4, irrigation management. This challenge will be introduced by Jakub Fuska from Slovak University of Agriculture in Nitra. Jakub, the floor is yours.
Hello. Okay, can you hear me? And can you see my presentation now?
Yes, everything's fine.
Great. Okay. Sorry. So, hello, my name is Jakub Fuska, and I'm from the Slovak University of Agriculture, and we were dealing with the challenge experiment with the number 4, irrigation management. In our case, we are going to present the results for this first hackathon, what we did, what we are planning to do. First of all, we need to say that this is quite a new topic for all the team. So we are building or creating the stuff, let's say, from the scratch. So we are quite in the beginning, and so the results are not as developed as I have seen those in other presentations. So please keep it in mind that we are only beginning. So let's introduce our challenge. Our challenge is quite simple: to tell the farmer how much of water does he have in his water storage or reservoir, meaning like an artificial lake, which he is using for the irrigation purposes. those values or those amounts of water are changing in the time due to climate changes, due to the uptake of water, and they are sometimes noted also in the technical documentation of each water reservoir. But as the reservoir is working in the common condition, it is slowly silted by material, and thus it leads to the smaller amount of water that is stored in given water level of the lake or reservoir. Our plan was to create the simple web solution which will tell the farmer, currently you have this amount of water available for your irrigation system, and we are dealing with this stuff or this task by creating a map of digital elevation model of the water reservoir, and with the continuous and online monitoring of the water level elevation with the sensory which is usable for this task. With this help, we can create a very simple way to tell the farmer how much of water is remaining in the water reservoir, and thus he can plan his irrigation system in forthcoming days of production of plants and so on. How to create the digital elevation model of the water reservoir bottom? We have at our university very simple methodology for the creating of this digital elevation model by measuring or surveying the water reservoir with a set of GNSS and sonar survey tools, which are resulting in the layer of the elevation points, which can be interpolated to the reservoir DEM of this water bottom. How to create or how to calculate the current water level of the reservoir? We are using, or we plan to use, the experimental sensor that was developed by my previous student in his diploma thesis, which he built based on the Arduino components with the GSM module, which is beaming the data through the GSM or GPRS modem to the database which stores the current data, which is available also for the further processing of the history data. The calculation of the current water depth is very simple. We can do it with various tools, but the simplest one is to subtraction of digital elevation model from the given or researched water level. But the water level is changing, but we have the data from the database or current data available from the online on-site sensor placement. Then we are able to create the very simple volume calculation based on the various approaches and various tools based on our current experience. We are dealing mostly with the desktop solutions. So this is why we are not progressing so much as I have seen the previous experiments. But the main principles is the calculation with the use of zonal statistics, meaning a calculation of sum of water depths multiplied by the cell area of a water depth map. Or we can create some calculation with the raster surface volume tools in QGIS or different tools. I will go to it later. This is quite easily to do in the given condition with the desktop solutions, but our task is to create something that would be working online without our maintenance or without direct maintenance from someone who is putting the data manually to the database. So we plan to create the array of tools which would be dealing with the PostGIS database, open layers and GeoServer solution to create the current water depth map and to calculate the amount of water that is currently stored in the lake or artificial reservoir. Our study site will be or is a small lake or artificial lake in the vicinity of Nové Zámky district in the village Maňa. We have made some surveying of the water reservoir bottom. We have some data of the watershed and so on. So this would be quite nice thing to survey, to process or test our approach. We know the principles, but currently we are facing the problem as we have not so much experience with the WebGIS processing and so on. So for now, we have created some basic calculations with the use of Jupyter Notebook. This is quite new for us, and we are quite used for the libraries based on the PyQGIS and so on. So this is quite new for us, as the Jupyter Notebook does not cooperate much with this type of advanced libraries. So we will probably have to look for some simpler solution, more basic libraries to process, provide data, and then publish our data on web. In this case, I would like to thank the LESO project CZ, who provide us with the connection to their Jupyter Hub solution. We can create this task, or we can create the calculation of current water volume quite simply. Just need to find how to do it in a WebGIS solution. But this is not where we want to stop. We plan to test or try also another approaches, because to know only the current amount of water, it is not quite sufficient, but we think we would be able to create some predictions of the development of the water storage in the short time period, mostly based on the reservoir possibilities or water recharge in accordance to the morphology of the watershed, land use and land cover, and also some data from the soil moisture and soil structure or texture in the watershed. We also would like to try to incorporate also the development or forecast of the weather, especially the rain events in the locality of the watershed. How to do it? We presume, and as far as we were able to get, we found that the MeteoBlue or Open Weather organization are able to provide such data, which allow us to, or probably will allow us to use the API implementation or their API implementation in our system. So we would be able to predict and also make some check to the past, what was the rain event in the locality of irrigation. For the watershed elevation data or morphology data, we have multiple ways or possible sources of the data. In Slovak Republic, we are able to use the LiDAR DEM, which is from the, I think, 2 or 3 years old with a 1 meter pixel, or we can use older hydrologically correct DEM that is 10 meter pixel. But if we are talking about the worldwide solutions, we can use the shuttle radio tomographic mission with the 30 meter pixel or JAXA's Global ELOS 3D World DEM, which is also 30 meters pixel. For the current or in situ data, we can also use some local data which can be surveyed by common geodetic tools and so on. For the land use and land cover in Slovakia or in European and other near territories, we can use land cover data, even it is quite rough or coarse as its minimal area is 25 hectares. So probably some incorporation of the local data of the current land cover and land use would be used based on the availability of local data. The soil moisture and soil type, again, in Slovakia, there are some data sets which can allow us to provide some basic information about the soil types in the Slovakia, but the soil moisture, as it is changing in the time, must be measured or surveyed if we want to incorporate it in our modeling from the local sensory arrays. We are discussing this stuff or this part with the Plant Control IO company from Czech Republic, the startup which is discussing it with us. They have some kind of sensory tools which can be used for this case. This company also offered us the help with the development or improvement of our ultrasonic sensor for the water elevation surveying or measuring, but this is not the main part of this task. So we are probably staying only with the calculation of the watershed analysis for the modeling of the surface runoff from the watershed of the water reservoir. Then we can also discuss the stage or possible stages of the system development. First part would be create the simple web map, which displays the water depth map and current water volume as the volumetric units like cubic meters and so on. Then we can focus on the water reservoir recharge in case of or in approach of watershed morphology and soil type and soil moisture. And the last final step would be the incorporating of the weather forecast for the estimating in the further time or longer time period of irrigation. The data we would like to give the farmer with our system would be the current water storage and simple or more accurate estimation of the input of the water in accordance to the weather forecast, and also the water depth map. The water depth map is something we are using for calculating of water volume, but sometimes, especially in Slovakia, there is a combination of the usage of the water reservoir, not just for the irrigation purposes, but also for the fish production, and thus the water depth map can be also useful for them for some basic estimation of the water depth for, let's say, feeding, for estimating of the overheating parts and so on. Then we were discussing with our team that if we are able, or if the farmer would need the history of water level or rain events and forecasts and water amount data, but this is something to be discussed, but it is quite easily implementable if we are able to create this on the WebGIS solution. The stuff that we were also discussing, especially with our members from Africa, which were discussing with us the possibilities of implementing of this system in the case where the water reservoirs are not always used as the water source for the irrigation, as they stated that mostly water, for example, in Burundi, is taken directly from the lakes, not from the lakes, but from the river system and so on. So this is true, but our case is in the dealing with the water reservoirs and maybe some implementation of this system of uptake of water, not directly to the irrigation, but first to store it in a reservoir can be considered if we are able to provide the system of the monitoring of of these reservoirs. We found some obstacles. For me, this is the first hackathon that I'm mentoring, so it is quite challenging also for me to deal with all the stuff. Especially the greatest problem was the attendance of the persons or personnel who has stronger background in WebGIS solutions and hydrological modeling in this environment. And also, as we were discussing this topic with guys from Africa, from Greece, from Czech Republic, and so on, it was quite demanding to find the times and the time for our meeting due to the differences of the time zones. I would like to thank you. I hope that this brief introduction to our results for this hackathon was something that allowed you to understand more of what we did and what we plan to do. That's all from me, and I will gladly answer your questions.
Thank you, Jakub, for sharing the results of the challenge number 4. Do we have any questions from the audience or comments? Bente? Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. A very interesting and comprehensive teamwork again.
Thank you.
I never stop to be amazed of what can be done in these hackathons. I do have one question that I you spoke about in the very beginning, and that was the challenge with going from stationary, analytics and doing it online. Yeah. So was this something for all of the participants? Was that a general challenge for you in this case, or were there groups that? Yeah.
To be honest, I was talking mostly about my own point of view, but we have a few participants who have some background in the WebGIS calculations or processing of data and so on. But there was also that problem that the time management and also the corona situation is causing this problem. But there are some people who are willing to help us, but they came quite later to the latest stages of the project. So it will be probably something to discuss or to deal with in the summer part or spring part of the hackathon, the 2022.
Yeah, and I just, because we take it so for granted, so this is just to comforting you and to appreciate what you've done, actually, because this challenge of using all this, we call it new tools, but actually these tools have been around for quite some time. Yeah. And to me, this is a demonstration that our Inspire Hackathons is helping us in capacity development in using these tools. That's what one of the takeaways, aside from the project itself, that I took from you. So very nice to hear.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope we will be able to improve our skills and to deliver the best deliverables that we are able to. Again, thank you.
Thank you. And I can see that Martin raised his hand. So Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, just
hello.
Question. Hi, Jakub. I was wondering whether from your experience it is or it will be difficult to access this sensor data from, for example, those particular lakes or reservoirs, or you see it realistic that you might be able to actually come to specific area, maybe the one you mentioned in the pilot, and install such a sensor with agreement of the owner to be able to monitor the values in a relatively longer period of time. Thanks.
Basically, or generally speaking, if we are talking about the water level elevation, sorry, this is quite easy to be deployed everywhere because the sensor is quite cheap, but it is quite nothing new in general. The ultrasonic sensors are available for most of larger dams and lakes in worldwide. But our approach with the diplomacy that I was mentioning was to create something that is under 100 euros per deployment at one lake. In Slovakia, there is more, maybe 200 of such lakes, which should be incorporating this water level elevation, and then they are able to get those data to any database that we program it to get, and then they can be used by variety of users. It is up on the discussion what should be done with it later.
Thank you.
Is this what you are asking?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that's it.
So thank you very much, Jakub, for your presentation, and thank you all for your questions. Okay, and now we need to move to the presentation of results of challenge number 5, which is the extreme weather. So this challenge will be presented by Teresa Shamanová from Czechino. Teresa, the floor is yours.
Yes, please. Good afternoon from Prague to all. Our time is shortening, so I will be trying to be as efficient as possible and as explicative, but also as short as possible to enable enough space to the other colleagues as well. Apologies, sorry for that. I'm searching for the right presentation. Here we are. Yeah. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. All right. So what was our approach in the challenge number 5 called extreme weather? We were trying to think about the problems that are in agriculture and also forestry in Czech Republic and Slovakia. We were trying to connect the existing problems caused by water, no matter whether we have too much water or where if we're lacking water, by storms, wind, and the other natural disasters, and to use more digital technologies to move towards smart agriculture of the future, using the tools that we have to our disposal in an isolated way until now, and to help the farmers and also foresters to protect their crop and also their forests and trees. So that was it. We realized that there are many problems now in a Central European region, caused mainly by the temperatures that we were not used to experience before, and also the lack of water especially during the summer months that we did not experience before. We would like to make the farmers to use the potential of digital technologies and to prepare themselves for the forthcoming conditions, because we already do have very useful tools to see what is the current weather, what are the weather predictions of in a short and also in a long-term period. And we have very good access to smart technologies that can help the farmers to prepare themselves for the forthcoming conditions. We have realized that there are quite many types of sensors to the disposal already on the market, and there are very useful apps building on Copernicus and other management and awareness systems, but the tools are not connected together. So we have started to think about this. We have started our efforts on summarizing the existing tools and trying to develop the new ideas that could be very quickly introduced to the market, joining the tools that are currently in an isolated way to our disposal. We have worked on that also discussing with the European Center of Medium weather forecasts, medium range weather forecasts, and we had 12 team members from 8 countries, from which for us the most important inputs came from the Czech Republic and Slovakia, because we have summarized the current problems that are here in Czech Republic and Slovakia, and we have also discussed the situation with the people in the field, let's say, and now preventing Bente's questions, we have already discussed with people from agriculture and forestry about the potential impact of outputs of this challenge and other advancements in this field. So we are ready to continue. This topic was pretty new in a hackathon, so we have started from the very beginning. We have brainstormed on our ideas. We have summarized them also related to their technology readiness level. We have listed all the materials that are to our disposal. We have also had a look at the solutions that are already on the market. We have searched through the apps that are built on Copernicus. And we have realized that we need definitely to continue with the initial ideas and research within the forthcoming agriculture season, because it is vitally necessary to realize a kind of a collection of data and research in a field itself, to collect the relevant data also about the harvest in last years, connected with the meteorological event and with the development of the weather, and with the natural events that have happened in the fields and in the forests. And our ultimate goal would be to put together a system of smart growth and crop protection reflecting the current climate development and weather forecasts. And this, we understand, would be a very useful tool helping farmers and foresters to get closer to the smart agriculture and forestry of the future, and help them to predict their efforts and focus their capacities there where it is really needed on a long-term, mid-term and short-term basis, so that they could plan well their capacities, but also plan well their crop or the seed distribution and planting of trees and planting of other plants according to the weather conditions that are previewed within the systems we have to our disposal. So this is what we have. We have smart apps. We have umbrella apps as MeteoBlue. We have very nice apps built on Copernicus. If we would have more time, we can have a look at it. And then we have very useful sensors that are already to the disposal of the farmers on the market. But these tools are not connected together. So this is what we realized, that it is really needed to continue. And we should go further with the development of this challenge and experiment in practice. Firstly, the sensors and their possibilities to involve the planning of the protection of fields and forests against the natural disasters and extreme weather events. We should also have a look at the data from the farmers and foresters concerning their harvest in last seasons, connected with the weather conditions and natural events. And then we should move towards the creation of the complex app, joining these data and putting these efforts together and moving towards this system of smart and growth and crop protection, reflecting the current climate and weather development. I was very much resonating with the presentation made by Runar concerning the whiteboard use cases and applications using the system of whiteboard, because definitely it is very much connected with our extreme weather challenge. We would like to collect the relevant data, because there is really high potential to build some predictive and AI models once the relevant data will be to our disposal. So in fact, our challenge is that we have put together a very motivated team that has collected the good ideas and the tools that are already in the market. We have altogether thought out about an upgrade of the existing systems, and within the forthcoming agriculture season, we really need to collect more data to continue towards the system of smart growth prediction, and towards joining the knowledge and information that is to our disposal in regarding the extreme weather and the weather predictions with the relevant needs of the farmers and the foresters. So that's it very shortly. We would definitely like to continue in our efforts and our messages that we have a motivated team, we have a functional tools, and we have to join it together and continue. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa, for your presentation. Do we have any questions, comments? If not, we should move with our presentations. I regret to inform you that no one from challenge number 6 could participate in the meeting, so we need to skip this presentation. However, it will be available later with this video recording that will be published at Plan for All websites.
Drones utilization for crop protection storage capacity. Introduction. Background of the challenge. Good health and nutritional conditions of crops, as well as optimal physical, chemical and biological properties of soil, are important features of the effects of certain environmentally friendly technologies and management efficiency in a crop production. Currently, the health diagnosis and nutritional condition of crops are mostly made on the basis of knowledge and experience of agronomists and long-term soil climatic information about the particular production region. At the present time, the farmers are using their subjective ratings for diagnosis of nutrition and health conditions of crops, respectively advised from specialists or distributors of fertilizers and plant protection products. This diagnostic is inaccurate in many cases and leads farmers to wrong decisions with a negative impact not only to production and thus economic efficiency of the business, but a negative impact can be seen also on the environment. Full explanation of the challenge defining the scope of the effort. The information system to support the decision-making in the field of the automated assessment of measured and collected data for the purpose of the precise application of chemicals to eliminate weeds, pests and diseases in a crop, adding nutrition to the soil or artificial irrigation. The system for the decision support will include a mobile application which will provide the information on the precise location for the application of chemicals, nutrition, irrigation based on created maps and GPS signals. Methodology. Team description plus info about any coordination with other organizations outside agencies. The challenge is managed by Zuzana Palková from Slovak University of Agriculture and Miroslav Konečný from AdSen, which are responsible for coordination of the challenge, stakeholder engagement and communication with participants. For technical support and development are responsible Roman Danel, database and data processing, Michal Žepka, image processing, NDVI and EVI, and Tomáš Peňáz on GIS. Technical background. The proposed methodology for identifying problematic areas of a selected crop will result from the measured data, whether in an imagery form through specialized cameras that are capable of scanning in infrared, red, blue and green wavebands, or from sensors. Consequently, the vegetation indexes, normalized difference vegetation index, enhanced vegetation index, which allow to identify problematic areas in the crop, and then the anticipated nature, extent and cause of damage will be determined. The system determines the coordinates, suggests procedures, methods and dosage, and unmanned devices apply designated substances. Data and equipment list, LPIS data, weather data, data from satellites like Sentinel-2, Landsat and SPOT, which produce red and near-infrared images. data from drones, training data set for classification of algorithms, and or real data from fields with these diseases. Experimental results. The main aim of the activity is to develop sensing methodology, a hardware and software solution being able to determine the coordinates of each region together with its geometrical dimensions in order to provide accurate information in the form of maps of the areas with the insufficient moisture, weeds, pests and diseases, or areas with low nutrition concentration, using commercially available unmanned vehicles that will include specialized sensing devices. Findings and conclusion. Experiment 6 focuses on drones' utilization for crops protection and control of their nutritional conditions. Currently, the status is controlled mostly on the basis of knowledge and experience of agronomists and long-term soil climatic information about the particular production region. The aim of the Innovation Experiment 6, defined for the AgriHub project, is to develop informational system to support decision-making in the field of the automated assessment of measured and collected data for the purpose of the precise application of chemicals to eliminate weeds, pests, and diseases in crop, adding nutrition to the soil or artificial irrigation. The EI6 opens proposals for further cooperation in the frame of triple helix principle, research and development, farmers, and small and medium enterprises. The discussions that the next Inspire Hackathon should bring allow to clarify some of the requirements of target consumers, primary producers, and the effect of local climate conditions. During the preparatory activities for Hackathon EI6, several questions arose from the discussions. Some of these questions are: the NDYI and EVI methods optimal, or building references, images, databases of different health conditions of plants will be necessary? Is there a real interest of farmers to use drones for the health and nutrition conditions of crops diagnosis, considering the limitations for using drones? What will be the business model for further exploitation of developed applications? The main points for the next Inspire Hackathon include more precise specifications of the farmer's needs, possibilities for plants image database development, and clarification of the business potential of drones utilization in agriculture practice.
So now it's time to go back to the challenge number 2, which was skipped at the beginning. Herman, the floor is yours finally. So go ahead.
Thank you once more, Hanka. Yeah, that's true. I had the pleasure to be part of the team dealing with crop status monitoring. This challenge also builds on previous hackathons, and I will briefly show you our results. We start with analysis of availability of Sentinel-2 data, because Sentinel-2 data are the most important data for crop monitoring. And we found that in 2020, there was almost 60% of images unsuitable for crop monitoring. And in 2021, there was 2/3 of images were unusable, and this was caused by cloud cover, or the unsuitability of the images. So we looked for the solution of this, and we tried to add Sentinel-1 satellite to crop monitoring to see if also Sentinel-1 is able to monitor the crop status. We also had some experiences with dealing with Sentinel-1 data. So the main difference between Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 is that Sentinel-1 carries radar sensor, and radar sensor measures the reflectance of the radar signal, and the radar signal penetrates the cloud cover. So that this the main advantage of radar sensor, because optical sensors, which are usually used in crop monitoring, are limited with clouds. There also exists a radar vegetation index developed for Sentinel-1. So we used this index. We also had some workflow how to pre-process radar data, because it is also a quite complicated topic. However, even after the pre-processing calibration, there still remains some speckle effect that makes the applications of Sentinel-1 complicated and unsuitable. So we so we also wanted to deal with it, because when we didn't care about it, we did a pixel by pixel correlation of Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2. We found there is no correlation at all. So the next step was to do an average of whole field, and when we took average of whole field, and we again calculated the values of the average of radar vegetation index and index from Sentinel-2, we found some correlation, and the correlation differs, but was sometimes there it was 0.8, and sometimes in some dates it was lower, and in some dates it was higher. And our final experiment was about smoothing the radar data. We did some statistics, some raster statistics, which from the speckled image of radar index did a smooth image, and the question was about the intensity of smoothing, but we chose some middle intensity of smoothing, and then we do correlation between the smoothed images, smoothed Sentinel-1 data and Sentinel-2 data. But unfortunately, we found there is no important correlation, or the highest correlation is on April images, because we tried more dates, and we found some correlation on April images, but the correlation was not significant. And the second part of our challenge was dealing with some practice deployment of our crop monitoring analysis, and we did a collaboration with company Strom Praha, and we found 8 experimental farms, where we will do our crop monitoring service, and they will provide us with their feedback on our experimental crop monitoring services. So that is the main result of the World Challenge, and also some quite promising results to the future and to continuation of this challenge and topic. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much, Herman, for sharing the results of the challenge number 2. Do we have any questions from the audience or jury? If yes, Martin,
yeah,
go ahead.
Just for curiosity, I would like to ask that if you will succeed with this agreement with those 8 farmers or those really people in the field, what shall be the sort of understandable outcome for the farmers, that if you will be able to compare some changes in time, sort of, let's say, basic type of information for them, which what this might be, for example, to get better understanding how what would be that benefit for them?
Yeah, thank you for the question. We on previous hackathons we've done some it's not package, but some crop analysis. Some of them are dealing with time series and search the time development of some vegetation indices, and but this also depends on the farmers. And we want from them to know if some of our services are useful for them, or some of them they don't find useful. There will be also some climatic services and some services with the remote sensing and Earth observation. And we also want to help them with precision farming, with identifying some management zones which there could care differently from the rest of the field.
Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. So if I understand correctly, the farms will help you with testing those applications.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Herman. And now we can move to the very last presentation, which is the presentation of results of the challenge number 7, analysis, processing, and standardization of data from agriculture machinery for easier utilization by farmers. This challenge will be introduced by Pavel Gnip. So Pavel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Pavel Gnip, and I'm working as a specialist for Agro and European markets. Final report on challenge 7. So please, we can move at least 1 or 2 back. Machinery monitoring, which is important and for the farmers and also for other, let's say, cooperating groups with the farmers, analysis, processing, and standardization of data, which are coming from agriculture machines. And the main aim is to just set a basic view of the data, of the position of the machinery, of the results, what was done on the field, and so on. So please, next slide. On the picture on the right-hand side, we can see the common situation in the I don't want to say Czech and Slovakian agriculture, but it's generally the position, actual situation on word market, and more or less we talk about the information flow, and it could be also on IT way or just face-to-face. So it's a quite complicated system, and many different players around the farmer, which he still needs to better know what to do with actually on the field with the data he collects, and the other specialists around him should decide from the data what they should do. Anyway, we can say that this system can just supply very nice farm management information system. It could be available for every farmers and all advisors around the farmers, maybe follow market, but still we have to keep in mind that the farmer created his own information, and he doesn't like to share with everybody and everywhere his data from his particular farm and fields. So please, next slide. So we try to set the easiest way for farmers, actually, I want to say majority of farmers who could work with this data he collect from his machines and machinery on the farm, and what he is doing on the field. So it's just basic viewer or viewer, not, I don't want to say basic viewer, but a viewer of data, but the farmer can easily work with. He can easily print the results, reports, or some statistics, and still the data are saved for another analysis, more special analysis, or combining with the other data, which are necessary to get some result, for example, for next application or next steps on the food production. So this is just a basic view of the common results. Please, next slide. Finding in conclusion of this case or challenge is that we discussed it like to have a for farmer a live view of the data, how to process the data, a way that the farmer can control and can still own data, how to send the data, actually exchange data between machinery on the field, office, farmer's office, and probably office of some advisors, how to guidance information transfer, how to manage the documentation and to manage the reports for farmers, so on and so on. So generally we need to simplify data exchange, reduce the administrative overheads around the data, and data exchanging, improve efficiency, and independent organization who works together with the farmers. And in the further improvements, what we want to do in near future, to prepare a mock-up and basic analysis of on the system. So now we will come to implementation according to plan. So basically we work with real data from the farmer machineries from the pilot farm. We have placed it in the Czech Republic, close to Hradec Králové, and we have data already from several seasons back, and we like to use it and work it with it for the implementation and next processes as we describe it. So that's generally all we had in this challenge. Thank you very much, and if any questions I can answer, or some of these details, or actually many details are already on the report.
Thank you, Pavel, for presenting the results of challenge number 7. Do we have any comments or questions? Bente? Yes,
yeah,
go
here
ahead.
I am again. Yeah. So coming back to the users, because I remember from EO for Agri that we concluded that it's quite challenging to get individual farmers to sit in front of a computer and take an interest in the data. Did you have a specific, you said you had one test farm. Is that a big farm, or how, to what extent did you have contact with the farmers? The advisor is one thing, but the actual farmer.
Yeah, it's a general family farm with 430 hectares of arable field. And then generally I said we want to cover the majority of the farmers. So I know that it's something extra, and the farmer comes home from the hard work on the field and sitting on TV or on the computer, depend what he wants to do, but still to prepare some analysis or work on it, it's maybe less than 1% of farmers all around the world. But as I said, we want to cover the majority. So if it is something what we can go together with farmer, just easy way, something like use it a telephone, cell phone or whatever during the day, it must be something probably that way. I'm not saying that the size of a display is the right way, but I'm saying that the way of the easiest using.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you, Pavel and Bente. At this point, I would like to thank all mentors who presented the challenge results. And now we can have a look at the results. Which top three teams selected our jury? So Bente, can you please tell us where goes the third place? Bente, you are muted.
Yes. Sorry. Well, first of all, again, it's so rewarding to do this work. It's super interesting. And since I've been a part of the Inspire hackathon since the very beginning, I'm so delighted to see that you have this continuity throughout all the Inspire hackathons. It's go a little bit back and forth, but several of the project has been, in prior hackathons, and then we have a growth of new ones. And yeah, it's just very, very interesting to see. And there are all of the reports were very interesting, and you have done amazing work. But we did have to do this evaluation and decide who, informally or having fun still, right, Hanka? this is sort of playing games in the family, and you have to have some winners. And so I will start with getting right to it through the place number 3, and then number 2, and then the first one, as usual. And I have this device, which is actually the branding of this hackathon is I don't know if you see it very clearly.
But they were equipped.
Yes, I'm equipped. Get ready. Yes, so number 3 was collectively business cases for the whiteboard, which was presented by Runar. So hooray, number 3.
Okay, thank you, Bente. If I can have a comment on business cases for whiteboard, I have a comment from a jury that the technology that could upscale digitalization on farms, it could be the technology that could upscale digitalization on farms. They recognized, the team recognized this huge gap, and their plan sounds promising in bridging it. The schemes helped in better understanding the whole process. So this is the comment from Emilia.
Yes, thank you. And we got a comment also from Teresa here, which I noticed. I don't remember the number, but Teresa, you mentioned that
number 5.
Yes, number 5. Thank you. You mentioned that you have identified collaboration with this one, actually. So with the whiteboard. So that also is one of the nice outcomes of the Inspire Hackathon. I would say that we have this cross fertilization across the different teams. So I can only encourage you for the next hackathon to collaborate with each other. Are we ready for the next one?
Yes, we are.
Yes. So the next one is actually the last one that was presented, number 7, analyzing, processing, and standardization of data from agriculture machinery for easier utilization by farmer. So hooray!
Congratulations. Congratulations. And I can see that Emilia is also present at the event. So Emilia, if you want to comment on that challenge.
So yeah, I really liked that they paid attention to the economic and environmental aspects, because I think nowadays when we talk about sustainability especially, we don't really talk just about the environment. We also recognize that economical impacts are very important, such as social and also social, but okay. Two aspects are, it's really good that they're broadening the aspect. So great job. Yes.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Pavel, do you want to comment on this success?
Yeah, thank you. I'm a little bit surprising, but still I have a couple of comments that I'm a little bit surprised that, yeah, of course, that we speak about the precision farming and smart farming. So just my short comment to this, the smart farming is over the precision farming, all these technology, communication technology, and precision farming we keep on the field when we try to decide what we want to apply, where we want to apply, and when we want to apply. So this is the main point. Of course, everything is around to save the sound environment and keep one way together about the controlling of the environment and just improve it, not just to leave it as it is, or what we don't want to just make it worse. And yeah, this is the main point of these. So I'm glad that the people go forward with this. What I'm not glad too much is that we have many players on the agriculture market, and it's quite difficult to put together all these data coming from these machineries, which are one is red, one is green, one is blue, and so on, and quite difficult to standardize the old machines to have a one or maybe 2, 3 results that we can compare, and we can go forward and bring a new technology to improve it, and so on and so on. So this is my comment to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pavel.
We are moving on. Are we ready for the finale on this jury result?
Definitely. But
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's number 3, the longest report. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Environmental Services. Great work. Do we have somebody from the group here?
Thank you so much for this great news. I'm very happy for all the team, and I don't know what to say.
It's surprise as well for you.
It's big surprise. Thank you so much.
Maybe if I may add also, I would like to also acknowledge the contribution of the whole team, and also everybody who was working on this hackathon in general, because it's really difficult in such a short time to deliver some results in these circumstances, and I do hope that once we will be able also to meet physically and also celebrate these small successes. Thanks to all.
Yeah. I can tell you what I liked very much about this particular one. And that was that you were, first of all, you were mentioning explicitly the different types of open data, the Inspire, and you worked thoroughly on the interoperability. You worked on discover it and access it. And then you used all the 3 cases, sort of illustrated the different phases of your implementing data. And you were, you know, I made a comment that you could easily turn this into a scientific publication with some extra work. It was really thorough. And the question I asked with concerning the users is sort of the business part of it is something you come to, but on the scientific and innovation part, you are just, you know, you should really go, your team should go for a publication, I think.
Thank you for your comment, Bente. Emilia, do you want to comment on that as well?
Yes, congratulations to the winning team. The report was really outstanding. So much detail was provided. So really, it was clear to us that they paid a lot of attention to all the criteria, and yeah, so it was really well deserved. I agree that it was one of the rare teams that paid special attention to interoperability and yeah, other needed aspects. So yes, once again, congrats.
Thank you very much, Emilia. And now let's have a look at the results from the public votes. So our public jury selected as a third place the challenge number 5, extreme weather. So congratulations. Then the second place shares challenge number 1 and challenge number 3. So congratulations to both of you. And the first place goes to business cases for whiteboard. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you very much for being part in this Inspire Hackathon. I would like to thank to jury who did a great job with selecting the top 3 teams. Then I would like to thank to all mentors and all hackathon participants. And now I am giving floor to Karel Hrvat. Karel, are you here with us? Can you please tell us your impressions from this hackathon? Karel, I can see you share your screen, but you are probably...
Yeah, sorry, I was mute. So I think that the basic is on this image, yes, that Inspire Hackathon is not the event, it is process. And this started in 2016. I think that from people who today participate, Bente and Runar were involved already in this first hackathon. And the goal of this hackathon, okay, we like funny, we like compete, so this is something for funny, but the main goal is to bring people together and to in some way transfer some result from previous activity into new activity and into the business. And this is why we continue with the hackathon. You can see that number of teams are connected, and also you can see that this hackathon also find a number of potential collaboration among a single team, and I think that this is important. This was also the reason why not only hackathons but also Plan for All was established, because we saw that in many times after end of the project all results disappear, and this was the goal, to protect the result and to make some continuity. And I hope that also this hackathon show that such work is useful, that we saw some new things, we saw some progress from the past, and I hope that in the spring we will have chance again to see how some teams move, that new people join this team, and if some result will be turn to the business, it will be very nice. I would like thanks to all participants of hackathon. I would like thanks to all people who join us today, and mainly I would like thanks to Hanka to manage all this work. So see you next time.
Thank you, Karel. Yes, see you in the next hackathon.
Absolutely. Lovely to be here. Thank you. Good luck with the continuation.
Good luck.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All have a nice Christmas. Goodbye.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.